Ever wonder what retired baseball players do when they're done playing? Yeah, they sit on committees just like we do. Folks, we're having some fun today, and I don't think
It's getting goofy.
It's getting real goofy. We had a Golden Days committee. This is part of the Hall of Fame situation, voting and whatnot. Adam, do you have any more detail you want to add here, or are we just going to get right to it?
Well, we have a question about the Golden Days Era Committee. Now, this committee is a collection of people who look at players, managers, umpires, baseball people who've been retired for 15 or more years, but perhaps for whatever reason, we need to reconsider their Hall of Fame eligibility, whether or not they were snubbed the first time around. And so this particular committee is one of 4 different era committees. The Golden Days era looks at people whose influence was primarily from 1950 to 1969. And this question is asking even more specifically, in the year 2022, how many people were chosen to join the Hall of Fame? 1, 2, 3, 5, or 6?
Jeez. So, and this is like 50 to 69 era
Yes.
players or
Players,
all?
umpires, managers, baseball folks.
I'm going to go with 6. I feel like, let's max it out. Let's
Okay.
go. Let's fill the hall.
I'm going to dial it down to 5 a little bit there. I'm trying to get some runs to catch up with you a little bit here. So the correct answer here is 6.
Nice. Okay.
And we're gonna fill you folks in on who those Hall of Famers are. They elected Gil Hodges, Jim Cott, Minnie Minoso, Tony Oliva. That was, and then let's see. On a separate ballot, the committee also elected Buck O'Neill, Negro Leagues, and 19th century star Bud Fowler, recognized as the first black professional player.
Okay.
So there we go. So 4 MLB players, and then 2 other, one from the Negro Leagues, one who was the first black pro player, Bud Fowler. So there you go. 6 players. I wonder. I'm now curious. Now that I've learned everything I've ever known in the last 5 minutes about Golden Days Era Committee.
Yeah.
How many players, how many players in total have been elected by this Golden Days Era Committee?
So I'm actually I just am finding this information. It says in all its forms, the Era Committee has elected 181 individuals.
Wow.
115 major leaguers, 33 executives, 23 managers, and 10 umpires to the Hall of Fame, which 181 is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it kind of so folks, you may not be aware of it. I don't know how closely you follow Hall of Fame voting, but it's controversial every single year. Like, just for example, Adam's wearing the Twins jersey. Joe Mauer just got elected first ballot. Great player, but when you compare his numbers to other guys who didn't even sniff the Hall of Fame on the ballot, he's right on par. So this is not saying that Joe Mauer's not deserving. It's just saying that the voting, everything that goes into it is wacky, and it's very difficult because it's not. There aren't. I think there's some milestones where even that has with PED use and that has shifted. It's changed, but there's some guys you look at, a Griffey, a Pujols, etc. Cal Ripken Jr., Derek Jeter. These guys are first ballot, no question. Like shoe them in. But you have all these guys they're not that top tier guys. They're Joe Mauer, they're Andre Dawson, guys that were fantastic players, but they weren't the elite of the elite, if that makes sense. And so it's just crazy to me that it's like there's 180, 115 players. Harold Baines, is it comes to mind. Guys that got voted in later. It's a complicated mess, and there's no easy solution for it. The balloting. Some writers make their ballots public, and it's just sometimes it's just like what are you doing? Like it's inconsistent year over year. You vote for this guy, and you like the criteria that you're using, or is like makes no sense whatsoever. So it's very wacky.
Yeah, and there's also factors that go into it, like their character, like they're not nice to the media, and so they're left off the ballot. It's
Yeah.
wild. So yeah,
Mhm.
this era committee, um, probably does a nice job of being able to look back at a person's career um, without the sort of subjectivity that goes into what were they like as a person at that time, or
Mhm.
maybe even compared to other players of that era who raised the bar too high, or the voting was tainted in some way.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, it's like you said, it's complicated. It's like in some ways you want it to be simple, but it's just frankly it's not. And there are
Yeah.
multiple issues. The whole character thing is really fascinating if you look into like Major League Baseball's history, like and you look back at it from like today's ethic, looking back, and like the guy who basically put the character clause in there, the commissioner at the time was known for actively doing things to exclude blacks from black players from joining the major leagues. And it's like, so it's like you have all these character clause things, but um, it's more than just that. It's the stats, it's the player, it's what they. So a big part of it, like at least for me, is like what was their impact on the game, and in different ways. So anyway, it's complicated. I certainly don't think I could do it better than the writers do it. So
Not under the current rules, anyway.
no, yeah, it would be nice to have. I think part of the beef with that the writers have is they don't have much direction from the Hall of Fame as
Yeah,
well, and so they're kind of
and they
just
have
left on the island.
the limit. You can only vote
Yeah,
for 10 players. So even if they think 15 are Hall of Fame worthy,
you only
then
pick
they
10.
have to like strategize who they're going to vote for. Because if they want to
Yeah.
vote for them again later on,
Mhm.
then they gotta they have to reach a certain threshold to stay on the ballot. It's
Yeah,
just
and this,
wild.
yeah, and I mean, this is more rabbit trails than the Hall of Fame thing, but this is why you have like Ken Griffey Jr., Derek Jeter. Like you only have what one? I mean, Mariano Rivera was like the first unanimous voted Hall of Famer, and it's like
Hmm.
clearly you got Cal Ripken Jr., Tony Gwynn, Griffey, Jeter, like so many guys were not voted unanimously. Some of that's because there's like there was this mentality of like nobody's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but you can look at these guys and say clearly they're Hall of Famers. But to that point about the number of votes that you have is like they might say, well, Griffey's getting in, so but I want to vote for this other guy, so I'm going to leave Griffey off my ballot so I can add this other guy in because I
Hmm.
know Griffey's getting in, and it's
Yeah.
just like it's so dumb. It's really dumb.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've soapboxed that to death. So we'll see you tomorrow.